this is my time with you today. This is my time every day, because if I don't have that, I've got nothing. When you've got that, even if you have nothing else, you've got everything. Another revelation from the tent, and this message is called the tent of heaven, because it was about taking the heavenly and bringing it into daily life, but it had to be done in this way, is the tent of God had a doorway, a gate, a veil. What does that mean? I mean, there was more than one. To get into the courtyard, there was a gate, there was a veil. And later on in the temple, these became doors. And then in the holy place, veil. And then in the Holy of Holies, veil. What does that tell you about being with God? What it tells you is prayer is not just something you do. Prayer is not just something you say. Prayer is something you enter. Your time with God is something you enter in. It takes time to enter, but if you're really going to experience God's blessings in your life, you have to enter in. You don't just do it, you get into it. You go inside of it. It says in the Bible, let us boldly enter. It's talking about prayer and being God, but it says enter in, having our hearts sprinkled clean, to enter in. It means prayer is immersive. If it's not immersive, it's not really, you're just saying things and okay, I said the prayer, that's not it. I mean, there's parts for calling out to God in any situation, but you must have the entering in. Only by getting inside there are certain things that can you even know in your life that you cannot know outside at all or on the side of it. It's not a matter of phoning it in. It's a matter of getting totally in that you don't see anything but God. What else was in the holy place? If you went into that holy place and you looked to your left, you would see this great 7-branch menorah that burned in the darkness. You could only see it when you went inside. Nobody saw it but the priest, and nobody saw it except those who had the honor of entering in. What does that say? When you get deep into the presence of God, you will be given light. Your life will be given light. There'll be something that will light you up. When you really get into the presence of God, it lights you up. It puts something there that no matter what's going on the outside, it's still shining. You could be at your worst moment in the world, and yet deep, if you're spending your time with God, there's going to be a light down there. You could be, that's how I kind of put how not being in the Lord or being in the Lord. When you're not in the Lord, you can have a party outside and everything glamorous, all that, and inside it's dark. In the Lord, you can have everything going wrong, all hell coming against you, but inside there's a light. And so no matter what you're going through, there's a sting that's gone because there's always hope. There's always a light. And the more you spend time in God's presence, the more strong that light shines. It's the light that's in the holy place, not just a light, it's a light that specifically shines in darkness. It's the power that no matter what's going on emotionally, what's going on relationally, what's going on you have a light that shines against the darkness. Always gives hope, always gives strength. And then the other thing about it, in order to be with God's presence, what happens? How do you really, if you were getting to God's presence back then, where would you have to go ultimately? You'd have to go to the Holy of Holies. That's where the thing is that's the deepest part of the tent. The deepest part is the Holy of Holies, inner sanctum. And so what does that tell you right now? It tells you that in order to get to have the blessings, the greatest blessings of power of God, you have to go deeper in God. God wants depth. One of the things about much of Christianity today is that it's become very shallow in the culture of America, where it is focused on the outside things, exterior things. The main prosperity is if I get. It's all outside stuff. The more you focus on outside things, which are physical things, the more shallow you become. The depth is to get beyond the surface and get into the presence of God. And the more you get into the presence of God, the more deep your walk becomes, deep your faith becomes, deep your strength becomes. You know, there's a word superficial. What does that mean? It comes from super, you know, and or above, and face. Is really the word there. It means it's outside, but when you went into the Holy of Holies, or actually when you went into the tabernacle itself, you'd see something, it was about the presence of God. And actually, the word in Hebrew for presence and face are the same. To see the face of God is to get deep. When you dwell, the more you dwell on everything in this world, the more shallow everything becomes. The more you get deeper behind the physical, beyond what you can touch and see, the more deep it gets in your life. The more deep a person you become. The more substantial a person. Instead of being a shallow person, you become substantial. You know, when I think about Mary, I think about a deep person. I don't think she was complicated. She was a poor woman, young teenager, and yet she was deep in God. It said, you know, they saw all these things that happened, you know, Christmas. I mean, we don't know, not saying what day it is, but it happened, and it says, but Mary treasured all these things in her heart. She took it deep. She was deep because she had God. She was deep with God. The tent of meeting is all about the inside things, the things you can't see with your eyes. But that's what makes you deep. It's the antidote for everything that's going on the outside. See, you got a million things going on around in your life. And you know, if you're not getting that deep time with God, then you've got nothing to be an antidote to your problems. If all you're focusing on this thing and this thing, then you have nothing. But if you're spending time with God deep, you've got, no matter what's happening on the outside, you've got a power on the inside to counteract that. You've got a counterweight. A person who spends time, true time in God, is going to have a strength that is deeper than the world, that is stronger than anything that happens around them. It kind of makes every problem less and less and less. Because when you're rich in the inner realm,